Back live, Surfers Paradise on the Gold Coast, and as I said, the weather is holding out and we look as if we're going to have a great day's racing here. Huge crowd turning up. We're expecting, as I said, Derek Daly was talking about 80,000 people, and it looks as though those predictions are going to come true. So Jack Brabham and Alan Jones are just two of the familiar faces we're about to see in the Pro-Am Challenge. So this should be something very special. Darrell Eastlake.
Yeah, thanks, Ken. It will be very special because at the moment we have the amateur drivers in the cars, and of course they are business people who have bought a ride with some of the living legends of Australian touring car and open wheel racing. They're making their way around on the parade lap now. Peter Brock, a pretty tense time, particularly for Chris Madden, who is partnering Alan Jones, our very own ex-world champ. And Alan drove so well yesterday in the pro section of this. Now, of course, they've got to drive their laps, hand over to the pro drivers. They don't want to make a mistake.
Yeah, actually, it's quite a long race when you sit down and analyse it. This is not a short circuit. It's a long circuit. These cars will take about 2 minutes 45 to 3 minutes, I suppose, depending on the driving skill to get around it. They're going to do 7 laps, and then they hand over to the aces.
Let's go through the grid for you. On pole, Alan Jones and Chris Madden. It'll be Chris Madden starting off, of course. Craig Denyer will do the same for Billy Brown. They drove very well yesterday, Billy Brown to get second. Brian Foley has teamed up with S. Mallinson. He's bought the ride with Foley. Bobby Beasley, of course, did well. He's with Shap. Then we have Bobby Muir. Gee whiz, he was a brave driver. He's with Ball, and let's hope he's as brave. Johnny Rutherford, one of the great names of Indianapolis Speedway racing. He's with Shepherd. Then we've got Pete Gagan. Big Black Pete is here. S. Devaney is with him. Sir Jack Brabham had a big bingle yesterday, rearranged the car. Leo Gagan. Gee whiz, remember the Tasman days? Wasn't he good? Jimmy McEwen, one of the old touring car aces. Thompson, Harvey, Lawler McVie, Leffler, Petrelli, with their co-drivers. The yellow names there will start it off. Swanson, Johnny Goss. Gee whiz. Johnny Goss, of course, won Bathurst, won the Australian Gold Star, and won the Australian Grand Prix. One of the few men, I think maybe Mark Scaife has emulated that, but I certainly know that Gossie was the first. 14 laps around this circuit on the parade lap now. There goes the pace car, so racing underway, and there'll be no slowing down for the first chicane. I think the amateur drivers would want to make sure they just get through. The green flag is out now, so the horsepower goes on, the revs build up, and let's have a look how they line up. Down they come into the chicane. Already Craig Denyer, who has done a bit of driving, gets right up behind Chris Madden. Chris Madden getting terrorised at the moment by Craig Denyer. Craig Denyer, the local general manager here of CFM. And Craig Denyer, as I said, has had a little bit of motor racing experience over the years in production cars, and I know that he was pretty quick around here in private practice, so he's going to have a big go.
The cars, of course, are totally standard little Ford lasers, little front-wheel drive job. They are a very chuckable little car. These drivers shouldn't have too many problems with excessive horsepower or wheel spin or sliding around too much. It's a matter of accuracy and neatness. All through there very cleanly, very nicely. In fact, these guys are looking just about as good as some of the living legends, as a matter of fact. Coming into the back straight, and you can see the cars leaning over, the drivers getting on the power.
Well, Craig Denyer in front, car 11 is in front, so Craig Denyer has gone past Chris Madden already. So as I said, that motor racing experience coming to the fore. Then it's car 6, which is a Johnny Rutherford car, driven by Bill Shepherd at the moment. Leo Gagan is also up there. It's a Leo Gagan car, sorry, in car 6. A bit hard to pick them up as we sort our way through this list. Leo Gagan and John Cowley driving, and that car is sponsored by the Queensland newspapers. Well, they've got to drive them pretty carefully. They are production cars.
They are production cars with very little modification, possibly remove the muffler to give the fans a little bit of I suppose, a little bit of a feeling of speed. But as you can see, the suspension's very standard. They take the bumps very nicely, actually, because the suspension is quite supple, being tuned for road use. And the drivers have got to keep on the power. There's no doubt about that. To go fast in one of these cars, every time you lift off, you're losing that precious speed.
So through they come now. Denyer using all of the track and then some. You can see that experience coming through. Car 16, sitting behind him is Chris Madden. He's partnered up with Alan Jones. Car 22 has moved up quite a few places. That's Gus Louis. That's the FAI broker. He's with Brian Thompson, so he's improved his position greatly as we see them going through there.
This is Chris Madden's motor car, I believe. We've got the camera going. This is the Alan Jones car. He's coming into the main straight. We'll have a word with Chris. Chris, can you hear me?
Yes, mate.
Going very well for you?
Oh, it's a little noisy in here. It's a bit hard to hear.
Yeah, it always is. What's the race tactic at the moment? Flat out?
Yeah, mate, flat to the boards. Try and keep up with Craig in front of me here.
You've got off to a very good start. We'll leave you with it.
Okay, thanks, mate.
Well, Chris Madden doing a fair job. It's not easy. You've had that position of talking out of a race car while you're trying to concentrate on driving. It's not an easy job. He did a good job.
He did do very well. Most of the times they sit back there all flabbergasted, but well, the little Ford Laser, of course, it's not, it's not a high-performance Group A racing car, so the guy can sit back and relax a little.
Greg Hansford has been the man that's been training to drive these cars. Of course, Hansford, our ex-champ on 2 wheels and a very good driver on 4 wheels. He said it's been the hardest job he's ever had to do, but they've been terrific.
Yeah, look, I'm involved in driver training myself with Jim Murcott, and to be perfectly frank with you, the difference between an untrained driver and a driver with a little bit of tuition is absolutely incredible. You can see these drivers are actually, taking pretty reasonable racing lines, considering they've probably only had a couple of days tuition.
Well, John Cowley is doing a very, very good job in partnering Leo Gagan. Leo will get in the car later in car 6. He's improving his position as they go along now. The idea is they've got to come into the pits and switch over to the pro drivers, so a pit stop very, very critical. And some of these drivers like Big Pete Gagan, I mean, Pete's walking along in front of us here in pit lane now. He's not getting any smaller, the big bloke.
Always a large gentleman, and of course we always felt that he had an added advantage in that his right foot was even harder on that gas pedal than the other guys.
Charles Stewart in the pits.
Yes, thanks very much, Darryl. I'm with Alan Jones. Alan, you're in second place at the moment. How are the nerves?
Well, they're really getting a bit I'm getting a bit excited because I'm hoping my man will bring my car in all in one piece and not leave me with too big a deficit.
Now, I'm told you've had a sleepless night worrying about this today. Is that right?
Well, I tell you what, they take this very seriously. I've got a very merciless team owner here because, look, when they start putting your name on Velcro, you know that you're replaceable.
And what sort of tactics have you discussed with Chris? What have you told him to do?
Oh, basically, just get to the front, improve his position and stay there.
Charles, just ask Jonesy. I mean, he's looking for another trophy for that trophy case. He hasn't let yesterday's go yet.
No, Alan, Darryl's is saying you're looking for another trophy. The one that you got yesterday, you haven't let go yet. I understand it was next to the bed all night.
Well, he should talk. He's asked if he could take it back in the plane with him with my overalls on. You know what he's like.
Thanks very much, mate.
Hey, Jay, getting ready to get into the seat. And honestly, folks at home, he hasn't put the trophy down. He reckons it's been that long between wins. We'll take a break, come back. The Ford Pro-Am underway, 3 of 14 down. Craig Denyer from CFM, the general manager up here, doing a great job. And he's partnering Billy Brown. They're out in front at the moment. Chris Madden, Alan Jones as partners in second place. And we have Cowley with Leo Gagan, Devaney with Max Stahl, Shapp with Beasley, and Louis with Thompson. That's how the top places go. This is all going to turn around, though, when they dive into the pits and the pros take over.
Actually, this could work out to be a very interesting finale, although this is quite a long race for these cars. I guess it'll take about 35 odd minutes. But when the cars change over to the pros, and the pros are all a lot faster, for instance, Alan Jones is going very, very fast indeed. If we see him with a 20-second deficit, then we'll see some fireworks. In the meantime, Craig Denyer on his merry way, driving car very accurately on screen. We have John Cowley, who's taking nice, clean, wide lines for the corners. Yellow flag out here. This is from one of our competitors who's hit the wall around the corner. We'll catch a glimpse pretty soon.
Oh, there's a nasty incident there. There's a fair bit of damage to that car too. You can see the steam coming off it. That's Ron Borland. Well, Ronnie Borland was teamed up with Bobby Muir, so Bobby Muir's not going to get a run, and that's a shame. Bobby Muir, one of the really great stars of Formula 5000 racing some years ago. let's hope that Ronnie Borland's okay. He was out of the car, but considerable damage there.
Yes, in fact, if you analyse that sort of accident where a car has come into a very tight right-angle corner and it's crunched the front of the car, the back of the car has got no damage on it, usually that's because the driver has locked up the front wheels and they've sat there and got into a, I suppose you could almost say, a panic situation, and the cars kept going straight ahead.
This is the dice for 4th and 5th on at the moment. You can see back through the field that a terrible problem there for Ronnie Ball, and he'll be disappointed. I mean, they've bought their ride here, a lot of money going out to charity, of course, the Ford Motor Company making the cars available. Very, very good to see Ford getting behind this, and it's great to see some of the living legends of Australian motorsport. The dice you're looking there now is between car 8 and 1. 8 is the Max Stahl car that Sean Devaney is in at the moment, and the number 4 car is John Schapp. He'll hand over to Bob Beasley. That's a good dice going on at the moment. So, very daunting task for these drivers. They've only had a couple of weeks to prepare for this, and Pete, you know, it's a circuit that it's pretty scary. I mean, everywhere you go there's a concrete wall. If you make a mistake for old Ronnie Ball, that's the end result.
Yeah, it's unforgiving, and mentioned before about when you have got the brakes locked up and you're heading towards a concrete wall, and of course a lot of drivers make the decision to have a low-speed head-on crash, when in fact the pros will tell you that if you just lift your foot off the brake a little, the car in fact can then go in the direction the wheels are pointed at, and you can get out of those situations. But this is one of the traps, inexperienced drivers in a very difficult circuit.
Sean Devaney there doing a nice job through the chicane, and car number 1, which is Chris Madden and no, it's a John Schapp car. John Schapp and Bobby Beasley sitting in behind him, car number 1. So they're having quite a dice, these two. Devaney and Schapp.
Amazing, Beryl, how much they've spread out at the moment. Although we can expect this to come back in again when we get the pros back in the car. Quite astonishing. These cars are absolutely stock standard Ford lasers.
Yeah, so you've got to caress the cars there. There he is, the living legend of Australian Touring Car Championships over the years. Drove Ford Mustangs with Leo Gagan. He drove Lotus cars here in Australia. He was just a master, wasn't he? And he still drives pretty good too. Pete Gagan.
Yeah, Pete Gagan, I mean, he's one of those natural drivers that just used to hop behind the wheel of a car and just do it. And don't be surprised if you see some fireworks from Pete this afternoon too. He doesn't look that fit, but boy, oh boy, he can drive.
Yeah, well, those cars are in 4th and 5th, the brothers' cars, so there'll be a little bit of bing dong. You remember last year, actually, Pete and Leo had a big dice here and put each other into the wall. There was no brotherly love.
No, in fact, the boys weren't too thrilled with each other over that one. I think we seem to remember Bob Jane getting involved in some sort of fracas too.
Yes, he did. And that was with Parnelli Jones, out of memory, the great Parnelli Jones, and Bob Jane had a scrap. That's like Bob to get involved with any biff and barge on a racetrack.
No, Bob's usually was a very quiet, well-behaved racing driver, and I was shocked, actually.
So Craig Denyer out in front, drove for some time in the Alfa Romeo little club sports series that was on. He was a very busy boy in go-karts when he used to live on the central coast of New South Wales. So he knows how to handle a car, and that's showing. He's doing a really nice job. Oh, and a big slew there from car 2. Ha ha, he's modified that, I'll give you the tip. No problem, that's Johnny Goss won't get a start. And poor old Steve O'Day from Conrad Jupiters, well, payday.
I'll tell you what happened there is he losing the car coming in here now, folks. He's oversteering badly there. He's just sort of tried to correct it, and he has not locked up. You notice that the car's wheels were still turning. If he'd locked up, the car would have slid straight down there out of harm's way. So, boy, oh boy, you can walk away and smile, of course, because it's a nice, strong little modern motor car, but a pretty heavy accident.
I've got to say, when that car hit the wall, this concrete wall, of course, was put in place. It really moved, that concrete, so it gives you an idea of the impact there, because that moved the concrete.
Yeah, well, he was probably doing, 80 or 90 kilometres an hour, and he hit at the angle he hit it, as we see again here, the oversteer on the exit of that corner. He's lifted his foot off, he hasn't jumped on the brakes, and it's hit it almost head on, and it has really given that fence a decent bash. The car probably weighs in excess of 1 tonne, and that's a little heavier than an Indy car, of course, so the wall is pretty strong. Don't worry about that.
6 of 14. Well, I think, as you said, it just goes to show how modern cars are designed and built. I mean, that car did everything it was supposed to do. It folded around in the front on impact.
Yep, it sure did, and certainly it wasn't the fault of the chassis of the car that it hit the wall. It was purely the driver, the one behind the wheel. This is position 4th and 5th here. We're seeing a nice little dice. These guys are out at Hammer and Tongs, of course. We've got the Max Stahl car there, which is the Sean Devaney, and the other car we've got there is
Stuart
John
Mallins.
Sharp, yeah, John Sharp.
John Schapp and Bobby Beasley. So that's going to be interesting on the pit there. A little bit of a passing move coming up. Wants to dice under brakes. We'll get him to. Yeah, nice passing move there. Now Nurse tucks it in, takes the line, and that's about as nice a move as you're going to get. Beautifully done. Of course, the pit stops will be coming up shortly. Now, it's critical that both drivers can change because the pros, they don't want to come first and second. You can see them all getting revved up there on the start-finish line. That's Bobby Schwartz. Sir Jack Brabham. You don't get him any bigger than Sir Jack. 3 world championships, of course, in a car of his own design and the Cooper Car Company. He's a fantastic man, Sir Jack, and we don't really acknowledge what he achieved for this country. Alan Jones standing by. He would be driving that man mad.
So we've got one lap before the pros hop in. I see Pete Geoghegan putting a helmet on over there. I see Johnny Goss, who's had his helmet on most of the weekend, actually, and most of the other drivers there getting ready now.
Well, John Schapp's done a good job. He's the Chief Executive Officer for Australian Airlines, and he's had a terrific dice here with Max Stahl and Sean Devaney. I'm not quite sure where Sean's from, but he really has done a good job. So it's a changeover at the end of this lap. So the pits are going to get pretty busy. And it'll get very interesting from here.
Well, this changeover, of course, has to be done recognising all the safety requirements. The driver has to pull up in a particularly allocated area, and seatbelts have to be fixed properly, and there will be a scrutineer standing by to ensure that all these safety standards are met.
Oh, I'd like to see Big Pete strapping in. That'll be difficult. If you've got a short driver, he's going to have to change the angle. Look at the dice between this one. Schapp, of course, who has done such a good job, and Sean Devaney, they're really been at it hammer and tongs. It's been the race of the race.
There's no love lost there, is there? I wonder, are they from opposition companies? We must find this out, actually. It might be a takeover bid here pretty soon. It might not just be on the racetrack.
Getting a bit serious now. I'll tell you, they want to be first into the pits. There was a little touch back there. Plenty of tail wagging going on. No doubt about that. Round they come now. They've been terrific, these two, having a great dice. They know it's the last lap. They've got to hand over the pros, and they want to put it in the best shape they can. So John Schapp in front of Sean Devaney in this section. They're going for 4 and 5. Schapp will hand over to Bob Beasley. Sean will hand over to Max Stahl.
So if that's Sean, these guys aren't worried about the concrete walls. They're going within millimetres of it, and gee, they're having a lot of fun. They're waving out to each other. He's looking out the side there, wondering if there's going to be another passing manoeuvre down the straight. This is great racing.
They take it very seriously, and it's something they'll never forget for the rest of their life.
No, and let's face it, they've probably vented years of frustration of driving around the normal roads out here on the racetrack where it's pretty harmless.
So, folks, if you want to get rid of your frustrations, this is the way to do it. Involved in the Pro-Am Championship, sponsored, of course, by Ford. And it's been a great dice from these two, Sean Devaney and John Schapp. That's cars 8 and 1. They'll hand over at the end of this lap, and the pit changes. We'll see the pros in action, and there's some great names. Alan Jones, Bill Brown, Brian Foley. Remember Foley in the minis. Wasn't he great? He'll be in car 4. Bobby Mule won't get a start. His car's out of business. And the great Johnny Rutherford, he'll hand over, and he'll be in car 5. So lots of action coming up here in the Ford Pro-Am.
And we're getting very, very close to the first car in the pits. In fact, here's the first car in the pits now, and we'll just see how this driver change is affected.
Well, this is Craig Denyer coming to the pits. He's done a magnificent job. He's led really from the first lap. He'll hand over to Bill Brown. Bill Brown's a little bit bigger than Craig. There's Bill Brown there. Craig Denyer is of the short person variety. Not so tall, we might say. In they go. Nice change. Craig helping him out there with the belts, making sure that Billy gets set.
Here's Alan Jones's co-driver just in the pits.
So Alan Jones waiting to get in. There it is there, car 16. Jones, he wants to get in. He can't give Billy Brown too much start. AJ trying to buckle up now. You can see the difference in the belt size. He'll pull those down once he gets out. So underway and we'll get a gap for you. There it is. There's not that much in it. Can Jonesy now, the former world champion and the winner last weekend at Simmons Plains, Kevin, the pressure's on him. He's got to make up the difference.
I think Jonesy will do it. He's got the bit between the teeth. You notice there that he allowed the acceleration of the vehicle to close the door and all those little precious tenths of a second. Jonesy just dropped that clutch and just burnt rubber and just left the pits. He'll catch him, I reckon. Give him 2 laps.
So car 9 sitting in the pits is Brian Lawler. He's taking over from John Borghetti from Qantas. So John's done a nice job. He's got the car back there. All nice and tidy. You can't do any more than that. And away they go. Indicators are on to say they're going out of the pits. Now, let's have a look. That's car 11. That's Billy Brown. We'll see where Jonesy is in behind him as we watch car 7 coming in. Pete Gagan, this will be a change, let me tell you.
Well, I
Big
saw
Pete from Sean Devaney.
He ran up the pits because his co-driver went past about 15 metres and Big Pete's running to get into it. He's buckling up. Precious seconds are ticking away. He just wants to race. He just wants to race, I'll tell you.
Look at the rubber. Big Pete's left out there. He's just dropped them and smoked them. Here's AJ. All right, we might have a talk to AJ.
Alan Jones, this is race commentary. You got your ears on?
Now, unfortunately, the two-way at the moment, we've knocked a switch or something on the changeover, so we can't do that, but we can have a look at AJ in action, if nothing else. And he's really throwing the car around. There's the gap. Oh, he's driving like a man possessed, AJ.
We've got to get him on air later on. We'll find a way of talking to this guy.
Out through the windscreen of Alan Jones. The angle he's looking at, that's Billy Brown up in front. Billy Brown, of course, known for so many accidents that weren't really his fault at Bathurst, but we remember them for many years to come. They were so spectacular. Take a commercial break back shortly. This will be fun. Great stuff coming up here in the Ford Pro-Am. 9 of 14. Brown leads from Jones. Gagan, Beasley, Stahl and Lawler. They're all handed over to the pros. Alan Jones is whittling away this lead that Bill Brown through Craig Denya's good driving has built up. And Jonesy really got the bit between his teeth and having a big go.
Jonesy using all that street fighting experience, taking the very tight apex here. We're back into Alan Jones's car here, I guess. And the car is out wide, you see. There's Jones, picture of concentration, hanging on this little laser, jumping over the curb. He's not worried about curbs, this little car. And he's got the car very well balanced for the entry to the main straight.
Well, the horsepower here will be interesting because all of these cars are basically equal as you can make them. It's lap 10 now that they're going on to, but I mean, there shouldn't be a lot of difference in horsepower, so you've got to make it up under brakes or round corners.
Well, what we would hope, of course, is that Alan Jones, besides not having plugged in his communication system, they should have pulled the plug lead off him. Because we need Alan Jones to have to work for his living here, but he's having to work pretty hard to get up to Billy Brown.
AJ, look on the face of a former world champion of Formula One, and he loves his motorsport, AJ, and he's very pleased to be back in the competitive Ford Falcon. Had 2 big wins at Simmons Plains in the Touring Car Championships last weekend, and he's captured the car.
Well, he's going to make a move here very soon because he's come out of the corner fractionally better. He can just sneak it up beside Billy Brown's not having anything of it, though. He doesn't know it's Alan Jones. He doesn't care who it is. He's saying, sorry, pal, you've got to take the long way around. And that's fair enough.
And Jonesy now under brakes, and there was some traffic in front of Billy Brown. Shuts him out. That's the last place getter. They're going to lap the last bloke. That's car 15. So they're coming up on him now, Bobby Schwartz, Rhonda Brownlee from the company keeper. But look at this. Jonesy pokes the nose through. AJ takes the lead. Well, it only took him 2 laps. He's done a great job because he gave him probably about 4 or 5 seconds start out of the pits, I would think.
Yes, maybe, but Billy Brown's got a bit between the teeth here. He might be looking at Alan Jones thinking, I might just lean on this bloke.
Look at Jonesy's eyes.
He's looking in the mirror. He's not. He's concerned.
Jonesy's having a little look in the mirror there as Billy Brown hangs on. Billy Brown doesn't race these days. He's driven some fabulous cars. We were talking about the Ferrari he drove down Bathurst at over 180 mile an hour. Long time ago. The beautiful P3 sports car that Chris Heyman brought to Australia.
Magnificent piece of machinery, and for a long time was the fastest car down Conrod Straight. Nowadays, funnily enough, probably eclipsed by our current touring cars, but what a piece of machinery. And Billy Brown, of course, drove those cars magnificently.
So Billy Brown losing touch a little bit with AJ in that part of the section. Alan Jones picking up a little bit there. You can hear the tyres are really screeching. They've gone past they're going to lap the last car, so that's a big effort from these two. And hats off to Craig Denny, who did a really good job, and also to Chris Madden. who put the car in a good position for Alan Jones to tackle him. That's a really good job from both of those drivers.
Yeah, very much a team effort and a bit of fun and games. I mean, everyone knows there's no sheep station sort of hanging on the outcome of these events, but it gets people involved in motorsport. It gets people, I suppose, interested in just what it's like behind the wheel. And one of these executives go away from this weekend confirmed motorsport enthusiasts. They know that it's a great deal of skill to get these cars around the track smoothly and accurately. And this is very good for motorsport.
Take a break, back shortly, Australia. 11 of 14 from the Ford Pro-Am drivers. Alan Jones, Chris Madden. Their car out in front from Brown, Denyer, Gagan, Cowley, Beasley, Shapp, Foley, Mallinson, Stahl and Devaney. That's how they're running at the moment. AJ had to come from behind. If you've just joined us, there's a bit of dirt and stuff getting out on the circuit now. But the former champ's doing a pretty good job out in front. Billy Brown's dropped off the pace slightly.
Well, of course, just concentrating on Billy Brown for a second, Billy Brown was the driver of those Ford Falcons. I think he did 3 years in a row where he had these most spectacular accidents at the Philly Park at Bathurst during the 1,000 kilometre race. In fact, those days, the 500-mile race. One of them in the HO Falcon is the one they often show where it rolled along and virtually sawed the top of the car in half as it went along the fence at McPhillivy Park. Billy Brown always came back for more, there's no doubt about that, and he's showing right now, hanging on to Alan Jones, that, you know, he's still got it. He's still a pretty good driver because, like, no bones about it, folks, Alan Jones is out there and he is driving with pride. He's driving, giving it his best shot. You could see before in those in-car shots, he's glancing around all the time to see where the other cars are. He's looking at the tacho, gear shifting, all of those sorts of things. And although he hasn't got the physical stress of the other cars, he's got pride at stake and he's driving pretty quickly.
Oh yeah, AJ doesn't muck around when he gets in the car. He said, if I lose my concentration or anything like that, he said, I'm going to lose this one. He wants to win the race, no doubt about that.
So back behind Billy Brown, we've got people like Leo Geegan. Now, there's one of the great talents of Australian motor racing. Who would ever forget those magnificent Lotus cars that he used to race, particularly at Warwick Farm with the Creek Corner crowd down there cheering for him during the Tasman Series. Leo was just an absolute god down there. And
used to drive against the likes of the great and late Jim Clark, Sterling Moss in those wonderful days when Graham Hill would be out here, the late Bruce McLaren. So many great drivers came out to the country in the Tasman days, and Leo and Frank Manich in those days were really on the pace. I mean, out here they could run with them.
Oh yes, I remember many times joining the crowd there to cheer on the locals because they were the big white hope. They were people who could actually get up and do the job. Back in sixth spot, for instance, we've got Max Stahl. Now, Max Stahl might be a name that's not known to a lot of people. His son Michael's a journalist these days, but Max started the car magazine Racing Car News, which was in the early 60s there, in the late 60s, I guess, the Bible of Australian motor racing. Max these days is involved in organising a number of activities, including the Target Tasmania, and certainly one of the great enthusiasts. I was talking to him this morning, and, you know, he was that keen about this race. I just could not believe he was like a young kid.
Yeah, names to a lot of younger people in the country that might remember them, but I tell you what, they put the foundation stone in for motor racing in this country as you enjoy it today. And they've all done a pretty good job. We've only had a couple that have brushed the wall and a couple pretty hard, but you can see there the attitudes of the cars. They haven't backed off. They're still hitting the ripple strips, lifting wheels, and some good dice is going on within the dice. Have a look at this.
Well, I noticed back there there's Johnny Leffler there coming through in car number 14, and certainly at least at 9th, 10th, 11th, this little scrap that's going on. And gee, there's Brian Lawler, absolutely into it.
In the pitch, Charles Stewart.
Yeah, thanks very much, Dara. We've got Greg Hansett with us, who's actually trained most of these drivers. Greg, these sort of events must be fairly worrying for you.
Yeah, well, I've been doing it for the last 3 weeks full-time now, every day out of the old Surfers Paradise racetrack. But yeah, my heartbeat goes up and down, I guess, a lot every day, and it's a nerve-wracking job, but you get a lot of pleasure out of it in the end when you see the end result.
So now you've got a couple of slightly used Fords to sell, I understand?
We've lost 2, which is pretty good, I think, because we always budget on a few more than that, but I guess you can't blame them. They get out there and they really want to, be competitive. But the best race car drivers in the world crash every now and then, so...
Now, Alan Jones has put in a great drive here, coming from behind. Did you give him any tips as well?
No, I didn't. But he did come out and have a few laps in the car at Surfers Paradise, like they all did. All those guys were fantastic. They all put in the time to come and have a practice in the cars earlier this week. And it was just good to work with them all. It was fantastic.
Great, Greg, thanks very much.
Johnny Rutherford in car 5 there. Our thanks to Greg Hansford. Well done to Greg. But Johnny Rutherford's really driving well. Just see him go past that car and through the chicane area.
And he actually took that chicane very neatly indeed. In fact, it makes you wonder what it'd be like with a scratch race with Jonesy. Rutherford's absolutely on the pace. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah, Johnny Rutherford, what a great name in IndyCar racing. He's done it all. The Indianapolis 500, just super performance on those big ovals.
Yes, and showing that he can drive. There's no doubt about that. He's here, locking up the front a little bit going to that corner, but lifted off nicely, got the front of the car around, a very nice tidy exit, and showing us the skills.
Car 23,
Nick
having
Petrelli.
Nick Petrelli.
Now, the last time I remember seeing this bloke race was a Monaro 350, I reckon, about 1968, and he was pretty spectacular then.
In fact, Nick was the first guy ever to bring out a race car that I saw with those day-glow colours on it. It was a white Holden Monaro with day-glow colours. How good's that from him?
That's pretty good, Des. Okay, we're on the last lap, folks.
So winding round for the last lap, AJ, well, he's going to get another trophy. He's going to carry this one around all day too.
I hope he runs out of petrol. This is up the standard.
Car 16, Alan Jones there, you can see. Still a little hot and sweaty, and be pretty pleased with the fact that he's out in front. You can see him working his way through, and just coming up and brushing the wall. Look at those black clouds, they're ominous. Let's hope they don't interfere with the big race to come this afternoon. Craig Denyer, congratulations to Craig Denyer. He's done a really good job, the general manager of CFM, and that's one radio station that's done a magnificent marketing exercise with this race. They've really been hammer and tongs for the last 12 months promoting the streets of Surfers Paradise and getting people here on the Gold Coast, and Craig really is a motor racing buff, and it's nice to see him in a winning position.
Well, there is a big crowd here today too, and I think while there's a lot of extra activities going on with Trans Am and Oscar and the NASCAR cars, etc., there's no doubt that Nigel Mansell and the efforts of CFM have really paid off here locally.
Craig Denyer, not so tall, you know. He had to put a little cushion underneath him on the seat so he could actually get up and have a good look out at the windscreen. That was okay. AJ just got out of that. Pushed it away and said, let me into this car, let me manhandle around the circuit, which he's doing at the moment, heading for victory number 3, or victory number 4 in 2 weeks.
This is 4 on the trot for Alan Jones, and if I've got you saying at the next race meeting, his winning streak will come to an end.
Should mention Chris Madden too, the managing director of Oz Sports. You can see on the front of the car there, Oz Sports teaming up with Alan Jones, and that's a Brisbane car from Burn Ford, so they'd all be pretty happy with the performance that they've put in. And Chris did a pretty good job talking to you early in the race too. It's not easy to do, but he handled it pretty well.
But I must also congratulate Ford Motor Company here too on the not only their participation, of course, but the finishing result. I mean, not only first, second, third, but this is a whitewash for Ford, isn't it?
Well, it's a big exercise though too, like to prepare so many cars.
It is too, and well, being facetious, it really is great to see companies such as Ford getting involved in motorsport, and they've got a huge presence here this weekend with their Falcon GTs, etc., around the track as pace cars.
So Alan Jones now winding his way onto the Gold Coast Highway, a highway you're familiar with right around Australia. Thousands of people drive down here each and every day of each and every week of each and every year. And not quite as quick as Alan is doing now, and he's not as quick as they'll do it later on. Takes a checkered flag, AJ, the big winner here with Craig Denyer. Congratulations. And another trophy for the shelf, and probably here for the commentary box for the rest of the afternoon. Second place coming up will be Billy Brown, and Billy Brown also doing a very, very good job there. And Jones, he won by 6.9 seconds, and he had to grab about 5 back, so that's been a pretty big drive there. So Chris Madden and Craig Denyer coming in second place. And through they come home, all nice and safe, not too much of a problem. Final placings, Alan Jones, Chris Madden, Brown and Denyer, and Leo Gagan and Cowley in car 6 were third. Good race, entertaining. Congratulations, Ford, and well done to the corporate people teaming up with the pros.